What does faith mean? Well, what does faith mean to me? Hebrews 11, verse 1 says, "Faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for." Ancients such as Abraham, Moses, Joshua, Samuel, and David. For all of eternity, an unseen, out-of-our-dimension God has been striving to connect with us. The ancients say that God knows us intimately. Psalms 139 says, "Lord, you have searched me and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word has entered my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. For you have created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Now, this all-knowing, out-of-our-dimension God wants to be involved with my life, my concerns. God wants to help me. Psalm 46 says, "God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present helping in trouble. Be sure and know that I am God, and be still." In Revelation 3, Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and fellowship with him." So this all-knowing, out-of-our-dimension God wants to have a relationship with us, with me personally. In fact, he knocks on the door of my heart and keeps knocking in different ways, waiting for me to hear and invite him in. But how can we be still so that we can hear and recognize God's knock? Well, could it be by going out into nature, by taking a walk by the greenbelt, by sitting in the grass and looking up at the sky? These are ways that I try to be still. So if God keeps knocking, and through these different ways I continue to be still, maybe I will hear him. Now, moving on to another question. Now, I'm sure a phrase that you've probably all heard a lot in church is "love your neighbor." It's an important one because your neighbor is important and you have to show love. So, love your neighbor to me means that you need to accept the people around you and the people next to you and love them just as everyone else. Love them like your closest family member. You gotta love everyone because that's the way the Lord wants it to be. Thank you. Yeah.
Alrighty, good morning, folks. So today I'm going to be talking about how COVID has affected my life personally so far. COVID this year has been really bad for some people. It's been not as bad for some other people. People have experienced death due to COVID. It's just been a really troubling time. For me, though, I've found that it's actually been a pretty maturing kind of experience. I have definitely matured a lot since the first week of COVID till now. I feel like I'm a lot more of an independent person, which is great. I feel like I've gained my independence, and now I feel like I can do really anything that I set my mind to. It's been really great actually to have that and to be able to be that independent. What's also another great thing is the connections that I've had with my friends, and how even though I've lost some friends or my connections have grown weaker with some friends, that's okay. This period of time was really, really difficult in terms of losing friends and distancing myself from people, but it really drove me to the people who were really, really important in my life and who are still really important in my life. I feel like I have a really close and grounded group of friends, which is really great. That's been a really great experience for me. It's also given me a lot of time to spend with family, and for most teenagers that's like a death sentence, but for me it's actually been a great chance to be closer with my brother, to be closer with my mom and my dad. I feel like we're a lot closer, and I feel like there's less arguments between all of us. I feel like there's less mishaps in general. It's been great. I know it's been awful and not great for other people, but for me, COVID has been kind of an eye-opening experience and a very maturing and just a great all-around experience to even see for myself become this more of a man rather than just a silly goofy kid that I used to be. And I'm still I'm still a kid, which is okay, but I feel like the maturity that I've gained from COVID is probably the greatest thing to come out of it, greater than having my closer friends, greater than being more close to my family. I feel like being me and being more independently me is probably the best thing that's happened. Alrighty, so when people ask me what my faith means, it doesn't necessarily strictly connect to God or any religion, actually, but for me, faith is believing in that things happen, good and bad things happen for a reason, and that overall we become better people and stronger people because of it. To me, faith is this really humbling and really empowering trait to have, because it really leads, or it really sets people up to be really successful and to take good and bad things and see them as good things. And I feel like the people who are more faithful are more optimistic, and I feel like I'm one of those people. I feel like I'm optimistic about most things in life. I feel like faith is more than what is connected to God and what is connected to Christianity. I feel like the faith is more than trusting in God. I feel like it's also trusting in yourself and trusting in others around you and trusting in yourself that you'll make mistakes and that maybe you won't choose the right people in life or the right decisions, but that you can learn from those mistakes, and that eventually you will come out of it on top, and that you will be more successful and more a better person after. Yeah, I think that's it.
Hey y'all, my name is Sarah Palmer, and it's great to see all of you here. Actually, if I'm being honest, having half of y'all up on Zoom is really helpful for those of us up here. I mean, it's one thing to be told your whole life to imagine the audience in their, well, not their Sunday best, but I never thought I'd get the luxury of actually giving a speech where that could be the case. When we were brainstorming ideas for this week, one of the topics that came up was living with unanswerable questions, the things we may never get definitive answers to. Do fish get thirsty? Can vegans eat animal crackers? Who came up with cooking bacon but baking cookies? Wait, sorry, faith questions? Oh, right. Well, here's one that's always bugged me. What are we put on this earth to do? What is our personal purposes in life? I'd guess that 99% of people will never get the answer to that question, and that's terrifying. Does anyone else lay awake at night in existential terror that there's some plan for your life, but you might miss the 1 0 in the code and miss it up for an O, and suddenly you're off your path, never to be seen again? That's me. Hi, thank you. I've learned over the last 17 months or so how to, well, mostly through trial and failure, but I've learned to kind of live with this fear of not knowing the answer to this question. When lockdown happened, it seemed like everything just clicked off like a light. School, sports, driver's ed, jobs, all of that just disappeared in the span of a few hours, and I think everyone here kind of felt a bit of the same way. I was very lucky. My parents were able to keep us safe and still keep a roof over our head and food on the table, as well as many more blessings. But when everything in your life revolves around these daily tasks, these daily things you know that you're supposed to be doing, and then all of that goes away, it's a bit like being left in the dark. All the road signs go away, you can't see the path, and that leaves a lot of room for doubt and fear and imaginations to just run wild with all of these questions that you've never known the answers to, but you just kind of put off in the back of your brain because life was happening. I can't stand up here and honestly tell you I coped well. There were days where I was arrogant enough to be mad at COVID for messing up the plan. I was so angry in that I thought I had been doing all of these things I was supposed to be doing. I was, on my path, doing what I was meant to, and then suddenly this big crazy wave of chaos came along and swept it off. And some of those days, I didn't think I'd ever find the path that I was meant to be on and the person who was still on it. But did you hear the two words in there that shows you how arrogant this way of thinking was? They were supposed to. I thought I was supposed to be fantastic at school, supposed to join all these activities, supposed to get a job and drive, and supposed to go to this college to get the job I was supposed to have. But who was I trying to answer a question that isn't meant to be answered? This faith question about why we're here. Why was I trying to build something to try to answer that? So what I've been learning to do with these unanswerable questions is just try not to answer them. Sometimes you can be so paralyzed by not having the answer that you try to answer it for yourself. You try to build this foundation of supposed tos to make yourself feel better. But that doesn't work, especially when life gets messy. When COVID comes along and your whole foundation of supposed tos crumbles apart, you're left falling in the dark. So what I've been trying to do is find the path, the nice flexible line between not chasing any of my supposed tos, but not relying on them either. I'm still chasing most of my supposed tos. I'm still going to school, I'm still cheering on teams, and I think that's a good thing. We should do things in our lives that give our life meaning. But we can't build ourselves a cage of supposed tos and then let the chaos of life wash it out from under us. Thank you.